Good evening and welcome, everyone. I am so glad you are with us tonight as we bless animals. People ask sometimes why we bless the animals. Do they need it? And it's not really that they need it. I don't think they notice that anyone is speaking a word of blessing or a word of prayer over them or near them. But I think we need it. We need these moments to pause and remember. Pause and remember our animal companions, the animals we depend on for sustenance, the animals who share our piece of earth with us. And we need to offer a blessing to them who we so often can go through the world not thinking of. Pause and put them front of mind, at least for a moment, and remember that we are all connected in an interdependent web. So come, let us gather. Come, let us offer our blessings. Come, let us worship together.
I'm Bob Davis, a member of the Sunday Services Committee. At People's Church, we welcome everyone, no matter your race, previous religious history, gender identification, or who you love. And we especially welcome you if you're visiting us for the first time. We only ask that you join us with an open mind and open heart. Together, we have more strength and more skills than each of us has alone. Multiple churches working together have a larger impact than one church alone. And this is one reason People's Church is a member congregation of the Unitarian Universalist Association, or UUA. It's one reason People's Church is a member congregation of Isaac, the local interfaith organization of congregations and strategic partners working together to build a more just community. And this is why our commons is filled with donations for the soon to arrive refugees from Afghanistan. The mission of People's Church is to be a beloved community, embracing and serving our diverse world. Here we seek truths in the teachings of all major religions, science, philosophy, and the arts. Here we recognize that examining our lives and assumptions and listening to each other's perspectives are as important as the answers we find or profess. We hope that you will join us in working to improve ourselves and our community.
I have an announcement to make. So tonight is our final this is our final day of our experiment with in-person worship in the mornings and Zoom worship in the evenings. Thanks to those of you who adjusted your schedules to be present in the evening. I appreciate it. So beginning next week, we will be together on Zoom at 10:45 in the morning and hopefully soon we will be able to invite some people into the Commons for in-person worship. So as Bob said, the Commons is full of things donated for our Afghan soon-to-be neighbors. And so you might, if you come, you might end up sitting on a donated couch or dining room chair as we wait for people to arrive. And so how we will know if it's possible for us to gather is if the COVID Act Now score for Kalamazoo is at high or lower. And for the past 3 weeks or so, it has been at very high. So I've been checking nearly daily, and we will know what is possible by Wednesday afternoon for that Sunday, because that's the amount of time our musicians need to make videos if we can't be in person, or can't be if we're entirely on Zoom and not dual platform. So when we are able to invite people to make reservations to be in person, which feels like a very strange sentence to say out loud, an email will go out to our email list on Wednesday afternoons. You can also call the church office on Thursday. There will be an online sign up form, or you can call to sign up to reserve your space. Next Sunday is also the beginning of our religious education program, which for those 12 and under will be entirely outside. So if you have small people, put them in a raincoat or rain boots if it was a day like today. And we're figuring out what it will look like for our parents. There might be a watch party space for them to watch the Zoom of the service, or they might be able to be in this same room in some sort of way. We're figuring it out. As I have said, I think more than anything else during the last 18 months, thanks for your patience and your flexibility. I am so excited about the prospect of not being alone in this room for our services. So I hope that at some point soon it is possible to have at least a few more bodies in this space with me and not me preaching directly at my own computer. So those are our announcements. And now let us sing.
Now let us sing to the power of the sing. Now let us sing to the power of the sing. Lift up your voice, speak out of faith. Now let us sing to the power of the faith within. Now let us sing to the power of the sing. Now let us sing to the power of the sing. Lift up your voice, speak out of faith. Now let us sing to the power of the hope within. Now let us sing to the power of the sing. Now let us sing to the power of the sing. Lift up your voice, speak out of faith. Now let us sing to the power of the love within. Now let us sing to the power of the joy within. Now let us sing to the power of the joy within. Lift up your voice, speak out of faith. Now let us sing to the power of the joy within.
Every week, we light a chalice at the beginning of our service, symbolizing the creation of sacred space as we focus our thoughts on today's service, putting aside temporarily our daily lists, worries, and cares. If you are willing and able, light a chalice now, and I ask that you enter into the chat box where you are lighting your chalice, whether real or symbolic. Our words this morning for the chalice lighting are "All Animals Are Our Relatives" by Florence Caplow. We light this chalice in honor of the animal realm, bird and hoofed, two-legged, four-legged, many-legged, fanged and clawed, gentle and fierce, wild and tame. May we remember that all animals are our relatives, worthy of our care and respect.
Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird.
People's people are generous people. We are generous in many ways. And today I want to talk about this patch of land that I am sitting on, these acres and acres that are the People's Church property. It has been such a good thing to have outdoor space in this season for meetings, for worship, for weddings and memorial gatherings, and all kinds of reasons to be outside. And so, and it is your generosity that has made that possible. The foresight of those who purchased adjoining parcels of land when they became available and donated them to the church. The youth group who several years ago worked on getting our habitat certified, a wildlife habitat. People who have worked tirelessly on the memorial garden, including the effort to make it more accessible by putting a paved path through it so those who need to travel over smooth ground can visit the memorial wall. All of the people who have weeded and watered and come to work days of various sorts. Our leadership who allocated the funds and then the people who put in the sweat to create outdoor spaces that will become outdoor classrooms for our children over the next months. And people who give financially to the church, which allows us to have funds like to remove enormous trees when they split in half, as happened a few weeks ago. So thank you all for all of the ways you are generous in being a good steward of our property. We never knew we would need it the way we do now, and it has been such a blessing to us all. The offering will now be received.
Wow, every time I see that video, I'm amazed at what Laura Boltman can do with the bells. Amazing. Please join me in giving thanks. From the countless gifts we each have been given, gifts of life, love, and sustenance, we bring these small portions to share in the works of love, which none of us can accomplish alone. We have some readings today, and I have the first one. The first is from a novel by Marilynne Robinson called Gilead. It's a novel that takes the form of a letter or journal that a dying elderly congregational minister in Gilead, Iowa, writes to a 7-year-old son in 1956, written so that one day the boy will know something about his father's life and character. We were very pious children from pious households in a very pious town, and thus affected our behavior considerably. Once we baptized a litter of cats. It occurred to one of the girls to swaddle them up in a doll's dress. There was only one dress, which was just as well, as the cats could hardly tolerate a moment in it and would have been unswallowed as soon as they were christened in any case. I myself moistened their brows, repeating the full Trinitarian formula. Their grim old crooked-tailed mother found us baptizing away by the creek and began carrying her babies off by the napes of their necks. I still remember how those warm little brows felt under the palm of my hand. Everyone has petted a cat, but to touch one like that with the pure intention of blessing it is a very different thing. It stays the mind. For years, we would wonder what, from a cosmic point of view, we had done to them. It still seems to me a real question. There is a reality in blessing. It doesn't enhance sacredness, but it acknowledges it. And there is a power in that. I felt it pass through me, so to speak. The sensation is one of really knowing a creature. I mean, really feeling its mysterious life and your own mysterious life at the same time. I don't wish to be urging the ministry on you, but there are some advantages to it you might not know to take account of if it did not point them out. If I did not point them out. Not that you have to be a minister to confer blessings. You are simply much more likely to find yourself in that position.
St. Francis and the Sow by Galway Cannell. The bud stands for all things even for things that don't flower, because everything flowers from within of self-blessing. Though sometimes it is necessary to reteach a thing its loveliness, to put a hand on its brow of the flower and retell it in words and in touch, it is lovely, until it flowers again from within of self-blessing. As St. Francis put his hand on the creased forehead of the sow and told her in words and in touch blessings of earth on the sow, and the sow began remembering all down her thick length, from the earthen snout all the way to the fodder and the slops and the spiritual curl of the tail, from the hard spininess spiked out from the spine, down through the great broken heart, to the sheer blue milken dreaminess, spurting and shuddering from the 14 teats into the 14 mouths, sucking and blowing beneath them. The long, perfect loveliness of sow. There is a reality in blessing. It doesn't enhance sacredness, but it acknowledges it. And there is a power in that. So writes our congregational minister, our fictional congregational minister in Gilead. So this is the time when I invite you to offer a blessing to your animal companions. Most of us, as in that passage acknowledges, do not have a lot of chances to offer blessings. And so it's important to take these moments when they come to us. As Unitarian Universalists, as heirs of the Protestant Reformation, we believe in the priesthood of all believers, which means all of us have all of the authority to conduct rituals, to speak truth, to minister to one another. And so I invite you into this moment of blessing. Claim your authority as part of our tradition and bless an animal. So maybe you have a pet. Maybe there's a squirrel in your neighborhood that you've come to know. Maybe your closest relationship with animals is in eating meat and drinking milk. We are all connected, and this is a time to pause and remember that connection, the sacredness of the non-human beings who share this planet with us. So take a moment, pause, call to mind an animal or bless the one that is sitting on your lap right now. One of the gifts of Zoom is that no one can hear you. So talk to your pet in a baby voice if that's what you do, or yell your gratitude out the window to all the creatures weathering this cold and rainy night. Offer a blessing. Reteach a thing its loveliness, or more likely, reteach yourself about the loveliness that surrounds you. Now I invite you to think of your relationship with these creatures. the ones who live in your home, whether invited or not, the ones who live in your neighborhood, the ones you depend on in one way or another? Are there things beyond saying a word of blessing that you need to do to move into right relationship with these creatures? I invite you to make those commitments to yourself and in the days and weeks and months ahead, to make those commitments and your words of blessing as real as you can. And now we have some more poems.
Possum Crossing by Nikki Giovanni. Backing out the driveway, the car lights cast an eerie glow in the morning fog, centering on movement in the rain-slick street. Hitting brakes, I anticipate a squirrel or a cat or sometimes a little raccoon. I once braked for a blind little mole who, try though he did, could not escape the cat toying with his life. Mother-to-be possum occasionally lopes home. Being naturally slow, her condition makes her even more ginger. We need a sign, Possum Crossing, to warn coffee-gurgling neighbors who share the streets with more than trucks and vans and railroad crossings. All birds, being the living kin of dinosaurs, think themselves invincible and pay no heed to the rolling wheels while they dine on an unlucky rabbit. I hit brakes for the flutter of the lights, hoping it's not a deer or a skunk or a groundhog. Coffee splashes over the cup, which I quickly put away from me. And into the empty passenger seat I look, relieved and exasperated, to discover I have just missed a big wet leaf struggling to lift itself into the wind and live.
Our next poem is by Cynthia Rylant. God went to India to see the elephants. God adores elephants. He thinks they are the best thing he ever made. They do everything he hoped for. They love their children. They don't kill. They mourn their dead. This last thing is especially important to God. Elephants visit the graves of those they loved. They spend hours there. They fondle the dry bones. They mourn. God understands mourning better than any other emotion, better even than love, because he has lost everything he has ever made. You make life, you make death. The thing God makes always turn into something else, and he does find this good, but he can't help missing the originals. There is no love in this world without loss, no life without death. Most of the animals that we love, we outlive, and so we mourn. So, to honor the grief that we hold for animals, the ones we have loved individually and the ones we love collectively or care about collectively, I'm going to light candles. I invite you to speak out loud or hold in your heart or type in the chat animals that you grieve today. These could be beloved pets. And I also encourage you to remember the animals that you haven't known personally, but whose lives are impacted by the actions of humans. Perhaps those who are impacted by habitat loss or climate change. So let us remember the animals who have died, who are suffering, or who are in pain. So see these lit candles, see the names and other names of animals in the chat box. Know that there's so much grief, so much love, so much death, and so much life. And however you are feeling, and if you are holding grief, you are not alone. Now I invite you to join Diane, Melvin, and I in a blessing for all animals. And the refrain I invite you to say at home is, we offer our blessing. I now invite you to join Diane and me in a responsive reading. The refrain is, we offer our blessing, and I invite you to say that along with us at home. To all the animals gathered with us today, we offer our blessing.
To the pets and other animals that we have known who have taught us about love and tenderness and responsibility, we offer our blessing.
To the animals who make their home on the People's Church grounds, the turkeys, deer, bugs, birds, and others who make their home in our woods, we offer our blessing.
To the animals who work guiding or guarding, pulling plows and sleds, we offer our blessing.
To the animals who give their lives for us as food and clothing and to advance our understanding, we offer our blessing.
To the imaginary creatures, the unicorns and dragons and fictional characters who teach us to dream, to imagine, and to question, we offer our blessing.
To the animals who have gone extinct, the dinosaurs and the dodos and others, we honor your memory and we offer our blessing.
To all the animals who suffer from cruelty, from loss of habit, climate change, we pledge ourselves to make the world more hospitable to you, for you, and for us. We offer our blessing.
To all animals everywhere, near and far, we offer our blessing. We offer our blessings. If there are any animals who have not, in your life, who have not been blessed, I invite you to take a moment and say a word or two, or feel a feeling or two in blessing for them. People care about animals, and we care about each other and the wider world. Every time we gather, we take a few minutes to lift up the joys and sorrows and milestones in our lives. So I am going to pause our recording. Sources of reason and radiance, sources of courage and compassion, keep watch with those who work or watch or weep this day. May the suffering be soothed. May the weary find rest. May the sick be tended. May the dying and those who love them find peace. And may the joyous be shielded. And may we all know that we are wrapped in a love that surrounds us always, a web that connects us to all that exists.
All God's crews have a place in the choir. Some sing low, and some sing high, some sing out loud on the telephone wire. Some just clap their hands, applause, or anything they got now. Listen to the bass, it's the one on the bottom where the bullfrog jumps and the hippopotamus moans and groans with a big to-do. The old cow just goes moo. The dogs and the cats, they take up the middle where the honeybee hums and the cricket fiddles, the donkey brays and the pony neighs, the old coyote howls. All God's critters got a place in the choir. Some sing low and some sing high, some sing out loud on the telephone. disagrees. Singing in the nighttime, singing in the day, the little duck quacks that he's on his way. The possum ain't got much to say, and the porcupine talks to himself. All guys crews got a place in the choir. Some sing low, some sing high, some sing out loud on the telephone wire. Some just clap their hands, applause, or anything they got now. It's a simple song, a living song everywhere, with the fox and the ox and the grizzly bear and the grumpy alligator and the hawks above, the sly raccoon and the turtle dove. All God's crews got a place in the choir. Some sing low, some sing high, some sing out loud on the telephone wire. Some just clap their hands or paws or anything they got. All God's crews got a place in the choir. Some sing low, some sing high, some sing out loud on the telephone wire. Some just clap their hands or paws or anything they got.
Oh, thank you to our singers. And thank you to all of you. Thank you to all of the creatures who give us joy and sustenance. And I invite you to go into the world or go into the night, offering blessings, pausing to notice how lovely so much of this world can be, and where it is not lovely, making it so. So let us go in peace and go in love.